Hello everyone, welcome to the Private Eye of XIC Buzz. The Private Eye is a detective section of the Buzz, investigating into the media ethics and code of conduct. With the media growing like a hydra-headed creature, morphing out not only in terms of technology, but also in its very nature and character. Something like media on media has become a necessity. Private Eye is the Buzz's enterprise for doing a media watch show. In our first episode, I, Punya Mahajan, along with my colleagues Ashna Harjani, Leroy D'Souza, and Mrinal Nakashi, bring to you our very own investigation about the coverage of rape by the media. Rape, until some time back, was not given any space or was hidden way inside the pages by the media. Public outcry has made the media sit up and put it on the front page. The coverage has stepped up, but are the journalistic ethics being followed? Is the media aware of the sensibilities and the sensitiveness that the reportage on rape demands? Is it following the code of conduct laid down by the Press Council of India and by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and certain women organizations? Let us look at the coverage of the recent rape case of a photojournalist in the Shakti Mill compounds. We have with us 4 newspapers and 1 tabloid: the Hindustan Times, the Times of India, the Indian Express, DNA and the Mumbai Mirror. And can you guess what the findings were? Well, let me warn you, you are in for some surprises. So stay tuned to look at the best and the worst of rape coverage by the media. But before that, Ashna Harjani will take you through the established norms and codes of conduct for reporting on rape. We have based our analysis on these parameters. Over to Ashna.
With the menace of rape and safety of women becoming a grave issue, awareness of media's role in coverage of such incidents has been getting a lot of attention from both the legal and the social fora. Now this has culminated into various codes of conduct, ethics and parameters being set for reporting. The most important parameter being of keeping the identity and whereabouts of the survivor and the family hidden. Basically, even the graphic details of the incident should not be published. In the media, it's increasingly become a trend to use words like savage, barbaric and heinous for every rape crime. Yes, rape is a crime, but it doesn't mean we use unwarranted adjectives. We can certainly do away with these, as it only leads to sensationalism. People have voyeuristic tendencies. They're very inquisitive. They want to know about other people's curiosity. The media is fully aware of it. However, it succumbs to it to either get more readership or more TRPs. It's often even argued that people want it, so we give it. However, that should not be the case. The media has grave responsibilities. It should not play to the gallery. It should try and avoid giving out sordid and undignified details as much as possible. Even according to the Press Council of India, newspapers should not pass on conjectures, elevate and comment. And all these categories should be distinctly identified. Now, keeping in mind all these parameters, we'll take you through our findings and analysis of various newspapers. Over to my colleague Mrinal Nakashi, who will look into Mumbai Mirror's coverage.
Our analysis of the Mumbai Mirror's coverage of the Shakti Mills rape case found that the paper had actually violated many of the guidelines laid down to cover a rape story. Firstly, it included many hurtful and undignified comments that would only serve to further traumatize the victim. Also, the paper included words such as monster and chilling to create unnecessary drama where it was not required. Next, the paper often included subliminal messages and voyeuristic details which were of no use to the public. Crucially, we observed that the graphic descriptions of the events of the day provided by the paper are likely to instigate criminal minds to perpetrate similar events in the future. Overall, the newspaper's coverage of the story was found to be loud and over-elaborate, and it failed to present facts in a concise manner. If we just look at one story published in the newspaper on the 25th of August 2013, you can see that it starts with a double-deck headline titled "Mehman aaye hain, khatirdari karne ke liye aa jao." The headline in itself is sensationalist. Add to this, the paper continues in the same using the word brutal in its very first sentence. Next, the paper goes on to compromise the victim's safety by not only noting the hospital she is being treated in, but also pointing out her ward and the floor it is located on. Lastly, the paper continuously points at a source but fails to name it, making its story sound dubious. That's all for a look at Mumbai Mirror's coverage of the story. Now, I'd like to hand over to my colleague Ashna Hajani, who will put the Indian Express's coverage under the scanner.
Out of the 4 newspapers we've analysed, the biggest defaulter has been the Indian Express. So I'll take you through one of the front page lead stories of the Indian Express. Now, the headline reads as, "All accused held, cops say victim was made to clean crime scene." Don't you think the second part was unnecessary? Isn't it being highly insensitive to somebody who's already gone through a great deal of torture? And most importantly, what purpose does it serve? Yes, had it served the purpose of putting the crime under a different legal bracket altogether? Just like in Nirbhaya's case, where the whole media outcry accompanying the brutality had put the crime in a different legal basket, and the whole anti-rape bill was passed, it would have been justified. But in this case, it is serving no purpose. What's even more intriguing is that the 4th paragraph in the same story elaborates on the headline. Yes, the Express has all its facts in place. They have quoted police officials, they have quoted they have quoted the crime branch. Yet, these are details which could have been easily avoided. And worse still, let's move on to the 3rd page. Here, those 3 R's. Now this story gives a blow-by-blow detail of the entire incident, which now this has not been provided by any other newspaper. And especially paragraphs 7, 8 and 9 smack of sensationalism. It abets voyeurism in the reader and flouts parameters. And finally, the story also reveals the name of the hospital where the victim was admitted. And everything boils down to the question of why. Does providing such sordid details help in the investigation? Does it in any way deter crime from happening? Or perhaps does it only provide ideas to borderline criminals? And I'm going to leave you with all those questions. Now my colleague Punya Mahajan will take over.
2 more held for gang rape, cop folly, let another slip away. If resisted, they plan to kill the photojournalists. The subhead, if resisted, they plan to kill photojournalists, for the story published in the Times of India, airs at providing ideas to borderline criminals about killing the victims. Source for the same has not been listed anywhere in the front page news story. The story on page 4, headline, Rapists Use Aliases at the Time of Crime, further elaborates on the idea of killing the 2 photojournalists. Apart from this, the coverage by the Times of India is sound and watertight and is successful at protecting the identity of the victim. The report doesn't speculate and doesn't give out any voyeuristic details. It doesn't use any unnecessary adjectives, and no moral policing has been done that may lead to sensationalism. The report is concise and to the point. The reportage on the whole is very active and puts myriad ideas under the lens that deal with the safety of women and how it can be increased. Now, Leroy D'Souza will be talking about the Hindustan Times, which according to our findings has adhered to the norms and the parameters of sensitive reporting and perhaps been the most considerate in this case.
Hindustan Times was the best newspaper among the 5 newspapers that we tested. If you can look at the headlines, it says 48 hours, 3 arrests, no angle. It just gives the time elapsed since the raid took place, the number of arrests, and the public sentiment over it. Even the deck over here, probe, 2 accused in police custody till August 30, 3rd to be produced in court today. Plotted, photojournalist visited mill earlier, accused may have planned crime, say police. Landmark, first major case under the new anti-rape law. Guilty can be kept in prison for life. Well, none of the parameters we are judging the newspaper on seem to have been flouted. In the front page, the text, it does not seem to flout any of the norms, except on the third page, where it is, in the second paragraph, it is mentioned, the survivor who is undergoing treatment at Jaslok Hospital was shifted to the floor that comprises VIP suites. Our contention is that media does not need to provide details of the whereabouts of the victim. Apart from that, there are two more reports on the front page. One is an opinion piece by Rahul Bose which says, "Attack the problem at its base and from all sides." The other is headline, "Survivor vows to transcend trauma." None of these reports flout any of the parameters on which we've analyzed these newspapers on. There is another report on page 5, 22-year-old from Uptaken by couple, raped by husband. It does replay the events to a certain extent, but it does not delve into extraneous details. So none of the parameters have been flouted in our book. On page 8, the report is headlined, "Girl faces gang rape attempt trying to save brother." Even over here, none of the parameters have been flouted in the headline or the text. So in the entire coverage, even after going through all the reports on rape and physical abuse, there are only two minor flaws in the entire newspaper. So Hindustan Times should be commended for their non-sensational and sensitive way of reporting on rapes.
Our analysis of the coverage provided by the Daily News and Analysis, or better known as DNE, found that the paper largely conformed to the norms laid down for covering a rape story. The headlines are concise, factual and to the point. The language, crucially, is simple and devoid of sensationalism. If we just look at one of the stories in the edition of the 25th of August 2013, the lead story focuses on the progress of investigations and is aptly titled "City Cops Get Tracking, 3 Caught, 2 More to Go," whereas the filler piece focuses on the meeting of a member of the National Commission for Women with the victim in the hospital. The lead story appropriately points to the police as a source of its information whilst not naming the officers due to the sensitive nature of the case. The only concern here is that the story dwells into potentially sensitive details of the progress of investigations that may not belong in the public domain. On the other hand, the filler piece, which talks about the meeting of an NCW or National Commission for Women's member with the victim in the hospital, erroneously points out to the name of the hospital that the victim is admitted to. Barring these two crucial errors, the paper has by and large conformed to the norms for reporting on a rape story.
The point of the entire show is to learn from existing report and not commit the same mistakes. We hope all newspapers have been analysed equally without any bias. When HT was seen to be flouting any of the norms, we went even further and looked at reports apart from the main report. Journalists have a very important job to do. We are supposed to create awareness about the happenings in our society. By flouting norms and being insensitive to victims of injustice, we are committing the same injustice. When writing a story, a journalist should consider how they would react if a near and dear one was supposed to be in the same position. Would they replay the entire event? Would they give the details of the whereabouts of the victim? Or would they, in a worst case, give the identity of the victim? Journalism is not a theatre of exploitation. So why not be more sensitive? Watch out for the next episode of Private Eye. Until then, goodbye.